What's going on, everybody? It's CaptainRoBear. It's Eberron, episode 44, the after show.
What a show!
Oh my god! I mean, you put it that way, that's kind of how it feels.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. We got our ass kicked out there, but for a good reason.
I think first we can just say how insane the card playing was from chat. Like they killed tonight.
It's almost as if they were excited about the fact that we revamped stream loots.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that earned a call out with how many cards and how many packs got. That was insane. It was a mad lad of amount of support. Very, 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 very cool. We appreciate it. We could use the cards, that's for sure.
Dude, I used my first advantage card tonight. It was awesome.
Yeah, we burned through them cards quick.
We have not had those in a very, very long time, the old double rainbows. They've made their way back.
I love it. Freaking love it.
Yeah, like Feisty said, the one card per episode balancing act allows us to do all sorts of fun things now that we weren't able to do before, that were like, oh, spamming the meta. Now it's like, okay, yeah, I'll grab whatever you got. Send me.
Yep.
I think you should have like a Adam advantage card that's a DC 20 that I can use if I get it, just whenever. I think that would
even
be a great card to add. Yeah, like, you know, I think it's because you say advantage, you play the card ahead of time, right? Because it gives you advantage. So then it's not like a lucky card where if you roll a 1, you're screwed. Even if you're like, I can't use, you know, if you roll the advantage, then you know.
Adam's card is
on advantage. You could still roll a double nat 1.
I mean, yes, but like it helps.
We've seen it.
Yes. I'm just saying it's a possibility to throw out in the ether. Okay.
Adam's card is as a song from the grunge era.
Yeah. It's like a divine intervention. That's how difficult it is to get. But like,
well, I can tell you what's as difficult as divine intervention. You guys putting together the plan on the spot, which was really good because we didn't have Adam last week. He came back with a little bit of extra information, but not much. You knew that the True Flame have come to town and that they have some new asset they want to show off. And it's pretty much a political rally. They're going to spew some propaganda. And that's what's laid down. You're able to meet at the Revenant Shadow, this neutral meeting place within inside the city that you've used an amazing amount of checks to be able to get to. And now it's all about staging the scene of how to properly mount this insurrection where you guys aren't the terrorists. And you do well. You piece this thing together.
Yeah. I mean, it started with like, okay, we're going to go there and fight and try to stop these really bad people. And then we're just got to get out of Dodge to facilitating a plan.
Well, and in a fun way that was literally everybody's ideas kind of coming together, right? Like one person says a thing, oh, that sparks an idea. Next person says what that sparked off of, and that sparks further ideas. And it truly was like a group planning session that we got to do fully in character, which I don't know. I don't know. It really felt like we were all in character that whole scene. And there wasn't really a break of character until like a joke at the very end. But that was like a good solid.
No, it was solid in-game planning. I'll 100%.
Yeah. And I don't feel like we get to have opportunities like that very often.
Yeah, I mean,
we came up with the best solution for the problem that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do we go out and just, you know, murder hobo this faction, or do we go running to the king? We kind of met somewhere in between.
You also didn't have meta information to. A lot of times you have a good chunk of the meta cake, and you didn't. So it's like literally it was left up to your characters to try to make that decision. And I'm trying to give as much as I can so that you guys don't have to be feel that your only choice is straight pacifism and take it in the keister, or to be murder hobo. I'm just trying to make a more let you guys make a more nuanced choice. And we were able to get there, and I was worried. I was like, man, God, I gotta give them a bit more. I gotta get here, but you're able to arrive there in character. I was very, very proud of that.
Yeah, I think that was the most impressive part. On top of all of that was to do that all in character as well. which was kudos to everybody.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then you set it up, which I was like, oh, this is great. So it's going to be heckling challenges. This is awesome. This is fun. This is going to be about DC of fucking with him versus you have this totally dipshit crowd that's like, hell yeah, fuck the scales, man. You know,
the scales. Oh, no.
You know, and you get to go back and forth with the DC and do your final answers and use your traits of like, how do we get into the crowd and do all this. I dug it. That's D&D, and that is fun.
Yeah, it's more it ultimately it alludes to combat, but it takes that combat pressure off and allows for a lot more RP involved. Still got gambling of dice rolls. It's kudos on the fun mechanic for setting that up.
If you fiend for your life from the first 10 minutes, you know, it feels like combat's the entire time.
Right.
True.
Not wrong.
And I do it when we stagger it out and we do it right, where we take our time and we don't care about rushing to get to a piece or, taking, okay, I want to take up all the time and not get to this piece because we know that combat may be up here or there, and just kind of naturally letting it flow. I don't like ending combat in the middle when you're knee deep in it, but I don't mind. I enjoy first round. I enjoy setting the scene. If you don't get to make this choice. It just happens the way it happens. But if you get a chance where you're like, oh, I'm able to run through first round of combat, it sets the stakes. And you know what's like, and it gives you a little bit to think about when you go back home for next week. And you're like, oh shit, here's this battle. We got to know what's on the field. I enjoy that. And I'm glad it worked out to that spot in play. But all in all, you guys did your job. You got the carrier pigeon out that Tim had, used an old item. I love you bringing the stone up of maybe changing the time. You're reaching deep. What can we do to modify the battlefield? And that's what everybody was looking at. What can we do? Echo bringing in like, okay, we're going to make this total warfare. I'm going to bring in, you laying it down early that you were like, we'll stage whatever scene we need to stage. Because at the end of the day, they're taking your supper away from you.
Yep.
Echo. So it's like you have more than just like, okay, so these guys have come and talk about the area and this is what they want. Well, I'm about to not eat. So, I'm not going to lessen my position. Like, so you full send. And I love that because, by the way, your hero point is not burned on that. Yep. I don't think I touched on it in the game, but you're like, you had already alluded to that. You were doing that. That's not a hero point. You 100% you were bringing it.
It was one of those things where it's like, obviously there's leniency given by DM to like, but it was like building up this narrative and like, Echo has earned a reputation for a reason and he gets the job done. Whether it's the best way to do so, can be, but yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. Is he's working for the Twilight Council and they were here first. And now you have this like xenophobic, chaotic military that's coming in and trying to like push out all of this stuff that he's working on, and he's got the insight from you, so he's like, they're gonna play dirty, like, and maybe the group doesn't have that much of a moral compass but like, I'll play dirty. So it's okay, I'm gonna set a few guys around in the crowd, and when push comes to shove, okay, we're going to see how pure the flame it really is when they throw off their dirty cloaks and they're cloaked in just pure whiteness, throwing arcane fire at people. And I really kind of like that whole dynamic of, and it was kind of like me playing this game within the game of like, I'm not going to tell them because it's going to be better just coming out. Like, it's just going to be better to like come out like live and just, and I think it's just a really cool piece in a moment of like, I feel like Recoil has some understanding and knows, okay, that's Echo kind of, but like, I think it's a good insight. But I think the coolest moment of that was the reactions from everyone. But I loved Tim's reaction of just like, yes, that is fucking awesome. I could just see him and he was just like, that is how you do it. I'm like, yeah, I loved it. It was really, really cool. Also, I'm scared to death because they hit like tanks.
Those
air tanks.
Those thunder shocks, man. They put a pep in Oxy's step, getting him up on top of one of them. Like, at least this one can't shoot me.
They do not only the traditional cannon damage, but they actually have a little additional thunder. that comes with it, which is different. That's a little mock-up. You guys have also never seen an arcane cannon. I typically don't allow them to take 2 shots. This one takes 2 shots and still has the roll for 2 strikes on it. So it's evolved as well. So all of a sudden, our podunk town down south has armaments. And
which is a big question mark, right? Like where did they build these? Where did they come to the materials to start building these? Like, there's
I have my suspicions right now because we already know what that town is built on.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested.
When we all left at the very beginning, it was established that the original Dragon Shard mine was underneath Cletus's tavern.
Right.
So that is the one trail in that you've had it. But now, where'd they come across with the tech? So maybe they have the money. How'd they get the tech? That's the big question now. Is where'd the actual tech come from? If they bought all this to come and roll in and raise the jungle, well, they had to buy it from somebody.
Well, and that's why I specifically wanted to ask, like, does this look familiar to General Oxenheim?
100%. I loved you asking. I was like, no, this is different tech.
Yeah, this is unfamiliar.
Well, and that's why that was the first thought I had is when they rolled these tanks out, and then it was like, oh shit, and then I was like, wait a minute, and then that's when I like yelled out like, yeah, but the Reedrin brought this shit too, and look what happened. Like they had these tanks, and look what happened. Like, who are you? Just another it's just like
one of them.
It was just interesting to think about like, okay, what are their points that they're going to push? And then it's reacting, and it's like this verbal combat back and forth of like, okay, how do I counter you? How do I make this different? And I think it was a little slow going, trying to feel it out, but then I think towards the end we really ramped it up like really, really well.
Oh, the heckling got to a nice crescendo.
I love arguing, so.
And this whole deal was set up, the rally and them coming in and doing it as quick as they can. Their strategy is there is an insurgency group here, and we need to figure out who they are, and we have to find out who they are as quick as we can within it, because they know that that's their number one adversary from them taking complete control and security is going to be this. So what are they going to do? They're going to set another stage. And what does Father Camden know how to do? Father Camden knows how to fake an assassination. So that was how it was going to be thrown down the entire time. No matter what you did, Father Camden was going to die.
Right.
Again.
Or a visage of him, as we've now learned.
Yeah. 100% was going to stage it, because that's how they win the hearts and minds. They're going to go in and try to make another martyr of an area. Now, little did he know that it would end up being, this would be Callista in this whole arc, because he doesn't know. That's why you were like, why is he not engaging with me in this way? Why? Because this
you set up this scene, right, Tim? You set up this awesome scene.
Yeah, I was wondering too. I was like, is RoBear just like glossing over this? Like, does he not see him? Like, what is happening? And it's just like, because he doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, I was going through my stuff like, ooh, what can I do? Like, so an idea I had was to cast Fairy Fire just on myself, if possible. So that I just like popped. And eventually this scene took another direction, and we started figuring out what was going on. Like, I was like, oh, like I had no idea about the red herring, but like when it started getting like, oh, he's just not noticing anything, I was like, okay.
Yeah, he's not engaging the way that you've seen him engage before.
Yeah.
This dude's trying to memorize his fucking lines to give it out, and you understand, like, he wasn't as strong.
From his heckles, his wisdom saves
stuttered, slower on wisdom saves, not the traditional. Why doesn't RoBear have a card? What do you mean? He doesn't have a fucking card for his bill? Dude, I had to do something. Be like, oh yeah, I don't even have it imported in over here yet, and build that red herring out and for it, but the other guys in the flame, they don't know you either. It'll be interesting how this gets back, because he's going to be in hiding somewhere trying to pull the strings. And now he's going to be legitimately terrified whenever this news comes out that this is who's there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll do.
Yep.
Because that's as big of a boogeyman as they could ever expect. So like whenever the news filters out of this and how it's perceived is going to change a lot of things. Do you end up running them out of town like the Redrin, right? It's right off the bat where they're like, no, we're just going to go. This is a possibility that's on the table for self-preservation.
Right.
I just love the thought, and you just kind of touched on it, right? Like, because I had two thoughts. One, this wasn't Father Camden, so to me, it was twofold. Like afterwards, it was like either A, the person gets up there and it's someone else, but then they start speaking and they're like, oh, this is Father Camden, and it's some other person, but most of the people, no one knows who Father Camden is. Right. But we see this other person up there and we're like, fuck, that's not Father Camden, you know? And then he gets assassinated and then the real Father Camden steps in and is like, oh, you know, look what happened to our leader, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm so-and-so, you know what I mean? But it was the other way around where he was like, oh, I'm going to fake this and I'm going to be a shadow puppet. But then what's even better is that his worst shadow, his worst fear in Callista makes it apparent, and word gets back to him and he's like, I am fucked. Like, you know, like I thought this person was gone.
Yeah.
Like,
not going to expect that to be the insurgents.
Had me held up on stage.
Yeah, because he just expects this group, and he like they don't know who it is, and they're trying to figure it out, and they're like, oh, we'll squash it like we squash everybody else, and then we'll have a dominant hold. And then this riles up, and now it's like, oh, everything changes, and now they're terrified. Like, I love that.
I'm very interested to see where the outcome of it goes. It might be like, you may cut the head off the snake without even knowing you cut the head off the fucking snake.
Yeah.
What I am interested to know is like, what does the civilian think about this situation right now? Right now, they're freaking out. They're still trying to run away from the town square, right? But when they get back or to some semblance of safety, what do they think about that interaction? You know, what was that like as a citizen watching that? You were pro them. They were making some good points. Then some people in the crowd are making some good points. Then it started getting real weird and dicey, and then it got heated. Then it got heated real fucking quick. And
you were running because there was.
I was here for a MAGA rally. I didn't know I was here for a fucking war zone.
Who's going to control the narrative? Is it going to be? Is the narrative going to be chaos erupts at rally, an assassination attempt on the true flame?
Right.
If this person gets away, do you keep the body? Do you guys have to run? It's unknown. Like literally right now, you are fighting for control of the narrative of what happens in this event. And with there being literal tanks on the battlefield, you might have to run. You don't know yet.
Yeah.
It may be too strong for you. It depends. The roles are still yet to decide who's going to control the information train, and that's going to be who wins out of this, because you guys did the best, and you did oh my god, radio getting the 20s and getting to be the dirty hippie that we loved, and the goat, and like your songs, all your shit was so good. Leightash fucking murdered it.
Slayed it.
Fucking slayed it. Absolute masterclass in how to play a bard for an evening. And I was like, oh man, Tim's gonna be so mad. He's gonna be so close. It's gonna be there at his fingertips. He's going in for the assassination. Here it is. But you have to wait
so
till
like,
just a bit longer.
When running up on Father Camden, like there was a 50-50. It was a coin flip in my head on, do I hold him up and show the world, or do I just do the deed now?
Yeah, actually talk through that a little bit for me, because I was a little, not confused, but I didn't quite understand what the point necessarily was with the giant Megatron thing out front, right? So what was the thought there? So first and foremost, self-preservation. I knew those cannons were going to hit hard. That makes sense.
They're not going to hit Camden, and if they do, then you know that Jazvok is completely rogue.
Right.
100% rogue. And he's either gone rogue or he's trying to take over.
Okay.
Which is another like move that we can play into.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like self-preservation on that one. And then the other thing was like once I saw him alive, like, and not even struggling, I was like, oh, okay. Like suspicions confirmed. This was a false flag assassination attempt, and
right.
let's prop him up. Because I had already spent all my movement, so I couldn't move him. I could only pick him up.
Okay.
In the getting into the meta of it and the rules lawyer, I couldn't move him.
Right.
So,
me.
The only thing I could do is pick him up and so that on my next turn, then I can start parading him around.
That makes sense. That all makes sense. Oh man, that's so smart.
I loved it. You had a piece. You had your chess piece on the battlefield, and definitely self-preservation with the 3 tanks for sure.
Yeah,
because it's bad.
Smart call. I was not even thinking about that part. I mean, you said meat shield, but I didn't put that part together.
Yeah, it took everything not to, because I used the bonus action. It took everything not to just go right off the bat, hit him with the big one, hit him with the next 2 hits, action surge, and just decimate him right there.
Yeah.
And I haven't made, obviously
that was the move.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
I haven't made the wisdom rolls,
Yeah.
but I would say that Jazvok would be pretty inclined to do the thing.
Yeah.
And he would take the shot. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's pretty motivated in using the harshest tactics possible. But speaking of that, before Echo conjures up the barrage of folks that you've hired to throw the cocktails, which is brilliant. You're trying to control the narrative because that's what you're doing from the battlefield. When it came my turn, I was ready to shoot one of the shifters because I wanted us to have blood before they did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was like, that's when I was saying we need some color. We need some color. They haven't quite got it yet. Like somebody we need. And then when the packet goes off, he goes, that's when Recoil knows. He goes, it's fucking, we're both we're playing the chess piece, and we both know that wherever that sign is, and they moved a piece before us, and we got pissed. But then it was great because he was like, well, we missed our opportunity there. But that's when you were like, oh, look what I brought over here. And it's like, bishop to queen. And I was like, oh, dude, it was so good, dude. I had goosebumps when you were doing it.
I don't normally get like arrogant, but like I fucking thought of that and I was like, this is so wrong but fucking awesome. I was so excited about it, and I was like, I feel like I could set this up pretty well of like, oh, it's like okay, like, oh shit, this isn't going well, but it's like, no, I've got one final like trick up the sleeve that's like, okay, like you're gonna see the Flame Watch for what it truly is, and like these beacons of all white holy men are saying everyone's getting purified by the flame, and then starts chucking literal flame at innocent people in a crowd. Like that's hard to fucking that's hard to dispute. And so I was like, this is what it's gonna be. And Echo doesn't know how he knows Recoil understands, but he doesn't know how Recoil's headspace is now with all the changes and shit that's going on. But he has no clue how the others are gonna feel about it. But he doesn't care because he's getting the job done.
Recoil hopes
if anybody else would have seen it.
Leightash probably saw some people get fucking. Leightash saw some people get fucking smoked, but he doesn't know the difference either. Is Recoil gonna know that somebody burned to death because of their own decision over here? And if he does, I'll be honest. Even though he's gone through an awakening and it's peace, right now he's in war mode with you, and he understands the decisions that you may need to make when they're behind the back.
It may not be something that ever comes up.
These questionable decisions that need to be made.
Not. But what I think, if it doesn't, I like that though, because like to me, look, I feel like this was so good for Echo because it lays down the line of who he is as a character, and there is so many more possibilities for me to do morally what the fuck kind of decisions that may be for the greater good, but is it good doing what those decisions are?
Right.
And so even if this doesn't get brought up or not noticed or whatever, right? Like, then it opens up that dialogue and narrative later where it's like, hey, like, I'm always going to do what I need to make sure this gets done. And if I'm on this side of it, I'm on this side of it. And that is what it is. You don't have to like it, but I will never not change. Like, this is how I operate, and you can either get on the bandwagon or you can't. You know what I mean? Like, and I loved it so much. And then I was finally happy to like really showcase a little bit of the arcane shot. I've been wanting to do something flavorful.
The fucking shot blows its fucking leg up.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
so
my God.
I love that, like, you know, Garomesh picks him up, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is, you know, putting two and two together. Oh, he's still alive. He looks pretty, you know, up and at him. He's like, well, I'm gonna make sure he squeals. Like, people are gonna know he's still alive because that looks gruesome. Like, no one's gonna survive the amount of blood that, and then he pops back up. Oh, I'm gonna make sure people know he was still alive.
and you advance that so much quicker because now Garomesh knows that it's not Father Camden because of that shot. So now it's like, where is he? It advances the story and the battlefield plan, you know, experimentally right off of that. And it'll be fun to pick up in that spot as you move forward because, I don't know, do you get done? Do you start looking like, where's the fucking Joker?
Where is he? Where's the drugs?
Do you like at that point, it's like, do you wait for somebody else to get set up? Do you finally meet the fucking king at this point of like, who's lost complete control of this place?
He's just... He's so screwed.
Well, he never had it to begin with.
There's a mech walker walking through your town square. Like, you have no control of what's happening.
Walking through again. This just happened last week.
Welcome to New Throne.
Home of the occupying army roulette.
Good news is you
Russia
can't
in the 20s. Jeez.
you can't displace anybody else. And listen, I'm like, after this one, and the blue dragons show up, and you're like, okay, RoBear, like,
the next one. That's the next one.
What next?
Look at all the draconic people, and the blue dragons come in. It's like, oh, look at what we have.
Well, that reminds me, Oxy has been a part of a Chardelin dragon creation, so there's that. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh god, so good. Everyone's like, screw you, I'm going home.
By the way, I also found it incredibly poetic that we were about to, like, you know what? If it doesn't, we're hopping on the train.
Yep.
And for a second, when that was discussed, I was like, how fitting. That's what this is. It's Wild West. We can't win. We have to just, we make our call, and we have to fucking take the 310 to Yuma. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wild West, who's Will Smith in this Wild Wild West movie scene that we have going on right now?
Leightash, come on. Not even a question.
As soon as I saw that mech walker, I was like, oh, that's a dirty classic right
to
there.
The Wild Wild West.
You'll have to join us next week, see how it pans out. Love you all. Thanks for joining us. Be good to each other. We'll see you next week.